Hello? Hello, hello? I'm not gonna lie, I don't really, I didn't really know where I was going with that greeting, so, yeah. Give me 1 second. Well, also, give me 1 second, I guess. I'm awkward. By the way, I just want to say, I love how, Twitch is doing, like, this, they're giving you, like, notifications about, like, personalized ads and selling your data, whatever. And like you're not opted out, like you're opted into that by default. You have to go and opt out of it. So love that from you, Twitch. Very cool. Just uh just want to say that before I really get into it. But yeah, it's been a little bit since I've done anything. And yeah, like before Christmas. And today is January 9th. So yeah, been a minute. And gonna say I'll probably talk about that more later on, but that's not really the main thing I want to talk about right now as I'm doing this. Hold on, by the way, let me get that off. I don't really have anything to put up. That's the best I can do. Just, maybe someday I'll get stuff figured out where I can like put stuff up on stream and all that. But yeah, you can see it in the title. I mainly want to talk about sports stuff on this stream because there's definitely something for me to talk about with that. I don't normally talk about like sports and all that too much on just moving my adjusting my mic. Yeah, like I don't normally talk about like sports and stuff on stream. I have before, but pretty rarely. Like I want to say only twice that I can really remember. I like what like talked about stuff for like extended period. Like went on a kind of a tangent about sports stuff, like I'm gonna do here. Well, that and also there's kind of the thing of I don't really have people that watch me anyways, so yeah. So I feel like every time I make jokes about that, I gotta say like I'm not I guess like too upset about that. Like it is what it is. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I am like really into sports and all that. Even though like I kind of even though like it's kind of mostly separate from like the streaming and content I've done. I've wondered about like trying to do more with it, but I don't know. I don't really I'd have to figure out how to like fit stuff in with that and like if it's just gonna be like things I talk about on stream or if it's gonna be more than that or whatever. But but yeah, I'm about to get on a tangent about the streaming stuff here. I let's stick with one thing at a time, shall we? So so yeah, the sports thing. It's like the reason I'm doing this right now, and I want to talk about it, which I don't know if anyone's gonna see it, but like I want to express it. That's why I'm doing it. Is my team did a thing. That's a good way to put it, isn't it? My team did a thing. So, in case you don't know, and like I think I've talked about this like once before on stream, like my fandom with this, but like I am a really big college football fan. Specifically, I'm a really big University of Michigan fan. And like that is probably like the only team I want to say that I'm like really like hardcore like a fan of. Like I like NFL, I like basketball, baseball, hockey, all that. And like I have teams I root for in those sports. But like it's not like this, you know? Like with those like I'm kind of a fan of the uh the game, the league as a whole first, and then and then I'll like find teams I like and follow them a bit. Like ironically, this whole Michigan thing has kind of sucked me into the Lions with like the Detroit Lions with what they're what they've been doing there, how they've kind of turned the culture around there, and now are in the playoffs, won the division for the first time in like 30 years. Also helps that they have Aiden Hutchinson, who was a beast at Michigan, and now he's doing well for himself at the next level. That helps a bit with having me root for them. but uh, but yeah, like with but like I said, with those, it's like I don't really have like hard set allegiances. Like I like the game, and there'll be teams that I root for, but I'm not strictly a fan of that team necessarily. And I feel like when it comes to like kind of outside like major college football, like the I guess the smaller divisions and like even get down into like FCS and all that, like I am also kind of that approach with it, but I have a team that is my team, and that is Michigan. And yeah, they just won a title last night. They're national champions, and I that is not something I ever thought I would say, that my team is a national champion. Because let me tell you, the era I got into them, by God, was younger me making a mistake choosing that team to root for. Cause like Michigan, right? They're like one of the biggest brands in college football, one of the most storied programs. And yet I got into them in their dark age. And when all that success that they've had, the story tradition, all that, seemed impossibly far off in the past. To the point where, in terms of like relevancy to the present, it may as well have not even happened. One split half a title since the Korean War. That was a thing before last night. And like, I'll say this too. Michigan is not like the most tortured fan base out there. Like, there are others who have it worse. There are others that are still not close to doing what we managed to do last night. But by God, did it fucking feel like it sometimes. Like the universe just had it out for us. It just wanted to make us feel pain no matter what with some of the things we got up to. Cause, Cause like I could go on a whole rant about all the history like this century with Michigan. Cause like I've said before, like not on stream, but like talking to people about it, that like Michigan doesn't lose as much as like a lot of the hard luck teams in sports, like the Cubs, Chicago Cubs, Detroit Lions. You could throw in there, New York Knicks, Toronto Maple Leafs, like Mets, Jets, all them. Like they don't lose as much as those teams, but when they do lose, they have like just as much of a flair for how they lose as any of them. And like, and yeah, because of that, and the era I grew up in of becoming a fan of them, I never thought this would have happened. Like, for me personally, where I really got on board with this team in 2011. That year, that was a great year for them. They were 11-2. They won a big bowl game. They lost to Michigan State, by the way. I feel like I should mention that, but they beat Ohio State. It was a great year. Denard Robinson was great. And it was so much hope. And all of that was for nothing. That year hooked me, and I spent the rest of that decade regretting it. Like I was lucky enough to miss out on some of the really dark days. I was kind of getting pulled towards them before that year, but that year was really what got me in for life on them. But yeah, like I missed Rich Rod, I missed App State, but those deserve mentions because like I said, Michigan is supposed to be like one of the best, most storied teams, and yet like the fall from grace they had, like at the end of the Lloyd Carr era, culminating in that App State game, which was like team from smaller, like not even like group of five, like they were FCS at that time, which is like a entirely separate division of college football. And this Michigan team, the year before, went into that Ohio State game the end of the year, that being a 1-2 game. Which, by the way, that probably deserves a mention as well, them losing that game. But, like, that was just a tough game for them to lose. But, guess if only people knew then how much lower it could get. Like, you come off of that, the first game of the next year, you lose to a team that's not even in your division. And like you can, and like Lloyd Carr was a great coach. He won a title with them, that half title since the Korean War, like I mentioned, that we had to hear a lot about from rival fans. But yeah, he's a great coach, but like his time was up by the end. You could tell things were falling apart. at least from what I've heard, because like I said, I wasn't really a fan of them yet. Yeah. Then they go out and they hire Rich Rodriguez, hotshot coaching prospect, great success at West Virginia. And this team, like, is bad. They are bad. Like, a genuinely bad football team. And being one of the proudest programs in terms of tradition, that is an entirely foreign spot for Michigan to be in. Being not just being bad for like a powerhouse team where it's like you have an 8-4 season and that's like the world's on fire, everything like heads need to roll, everything needs to be burnt to the ground. And I will say, I kind of envy Ohio State in that area. Because, like, I feel like a lot of teams, a lot of, like, the big blue blood storied teams have had down periods. Like, Michigan definitely. Nebraska's still trying to get out of theirs. Texas was rough for a while, and then it became and they had, like, one good game, and their fan base was saying they were back, and they were rough for a while after that. And then it became a joke about Texas being back. But they made the playoffs too this year, so they actually are back now. Yeah, like Miami hasn't gotten to the same heights they were at since the early 2000s. Alabama before Nick Saban, they had a few years where they were bad. But like Ohio State, like the closest they came was the dumb shit that got Tressel fired, and they had like 1 year where they were kind of reeling from that, and they turned around and hired Urban, and they were great again. Like they haven't really had like an extended period of struggle, really. And yeah, with everything Michigan's been through, I kind of envy that. But hey, it just makes it sweeter in the end. That's what we were told, and sometimes like when it doesn't happen, it's like, yeah, well, that's what we're told, but when's it happening? Like, come on now. Like, at what point is this all gonna be worth something? But when it does, it makes it all worth it in the end. But yeah, my reaction to them winning a title was I didn't know how to feel. Like it wasn't like it was one of those things like it didn't really set in. I'm not sure it has now. Maybe it will as I kind of go through the history here. But but yeah, like I said, kind of getting back to the history. They bring in this new head coach and they are bad. Like they are 3-9 in his first year. They lose to a MAC team, Toledo. I think they lost to Northwestern in an ugly game that year, which like it's Northwestern. They're not a football school. Like they're at all. They're like the Vanderbilt of the Big Ten, if you know about Vanderbilt. They have a good year every once in a while, Northwestern does, but a lot of the time they are not good. And I don't think they were good that year when Michigan lost to them. But yeah, it's just a team that has always been good is now bad. And no one knows how to handle it. But then there's that 2011 season. There's that there's that glimmer of hope with a great year. Like I said, they still lost to Michigan State, but I mean, hey, you gotta start building up from somewhere, right? Like this year could easily be where they come back, and like they have Denard Robinson. He's great. He has been the brightest spot on this team, like since that '06 team that was really good. And then the next year, he gets hurt down the stretch. They lose games down the stretch. And then their running back gets fucking decapitated in the bowl game. Like, y'all remember that? That Jadeveon Clowney hit on Vincent Smith? And how that was, like, everywhere for the next few days after that game? Y'all remember that? Because I feel like that one's a bit underrated in terms of the suffering Michigan fans have gone through, having to see that be, like, what we're known for. Because for me, like, I feel like symbolically that was like kind of the end of the good times of 2011. Cause that moment was like, oh, well, I guess everyone sees us as a joke again. It was fun while it lasted, I guess, but now we're just back to this. And and yeah, the next 2 years we were back to it. We kept going on that slow fall, dropping down lower and lower, to the point we were playing a quarterback with scrambled eggs for a brain. Like this is your brain. This is your brain on Michigan football. Dude's obviously concussed. We throw him out there anyways. But then after that, another glimmer of hope. There's there's this guy they're going after to be their next head coach. He is he's he's coached at a lot of different levels. He's won everywhere he's gone. More importantly than that, he's a Michigan man. He he will be the savior of this program if they can get him. And they get him. He is this is it. This right here is it. He is gonna turn this team around. He's gonna bring them back to the glory days. It's gonna be beautiful. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes it's the hope that gets you. And for a long time there, we found ourselves, well, there's something else first that, like, before I really get into what I'm about to say, I should mention, like, this shouldn't be something I just gloss over. Uh, Trouble with the snap. I'm sure y'all know what I mean by that if you, like, know anything about what I'm talking about here. Yeah, that was a thing that happened. That was not fun. That was probably like the like number two from this whole era behind App State in terms of like pain. But so yeah, that deserves a mention. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh, he is the savior of this program. He comes in two within 2 years, within year two of him being there, he has built them back up, and they are contending for they're in the title hunt. They're seen as contending for that. But like I said, it's the hope that gets you. And being bad sucks. Like, it sucks when you have no hope. But in some ways, there there's a spot you could find yourself in that's even worse. Where you're good. Where you're really damn good. And yet, for whatever reason, no matter what you try and do, no matter how hard, no matter how much badly you want it, you just can't seem to take that last step. Become great. And there was that one game at the end of November every year where no matter what they did, no matter how badly they wanted it, they could not win that game. in 2016. JT was short. I have my feelings about that, but I was at that game in person because I had a brother. I have a brother who went to Ohio State around that time. Yeah, I'm a Michigan fan with family that is Ohio State fans. Or at least my brother is an Ohio State fan because he went there. And I'm a Michigan fan, and I could have went to Michigan, but decided not to because I felt like it wasn't the best fit for me as a school. But that's another story. Yeah, that game, 2016. 2017, John O'Corn. Do I need to say more? 2018, I was at that one too. Because around the time my brother was at Ohio State, like our family, like we'd go out there to visit him for like Thanksgiving, and that game is Thanksgiving weekend, so we'd go to that too. That game, it's close in the first half, and like I remember this vividly. Like Michigan scores, they tie the game, like towards the end of the second quarter, and then on the kickoff, Ohio State fumbles. Michigan recovers. You'd think they get like at least 3 points there. They should probably get 7. Take the lead and momentum into the half. Quick 3 and out. Leave enough time for Ohio State. Go down, kick a field goal. And then they put up fucking 45 in the second half. Like, that moment right there, probably the angriest I've ever been as a fan. And definitely a low light for that. Although there is something else that we will get to that was like not enjoyable being a fan. And we will get to that. But that game, that half, that was watching a team die. That's the best way I can put it. And that was a game that broke me. Where after that, I said, I cannot get myself invested in this team to that level until they break the hamster wheel somehow. Because nothing that they did showed me that they could. You get 62 dropped on you. I don't think that's a sign that you can, you know? And like, why should I have hope if this is just how it's always gonna end up? And then the next year, 56. I'm proven right. Why should I have hope for them? And then the COVID year. That, in hindsight, that whole thing was like kind of not really the best to go off of. Like, Indiana almost won the Big Ten. But yeah. That year, there was hope for all of 1 week. The first week, when Michigan beat Minnesota. Joe Milton looked really good, and Michigan State lost to Rutgers. What a laugh that was for us. And then Michigan State beat us the next week. And then we were bad again. And it just seemed like it wasn't going to happen for Jim Harbaugh. Maybe it's time to move on. He tried, but Michigan just can't get back to that level they were at. They've been knocked too far down. They can't overcome that. Their ceiling is like 9-10 wins. Lose to Ohio State at the end of the year. Maybe they beat Michigan State some years, but if Michigan State's good, that's kind of pushing it. And then play a bowl game that in the modern college football landscape doesn't really mean anything, and probably lose that too, because he can't win bowl games either. And even that 2021 season, like when that 2021 loss to Michigan State, like after that, like I said, after 2018, I was not getting myself invested in this team. Like, I didn't really care about 2019. I didn't really care about 2020. I didn't really care about 2021 up until a certain point, which I'm about to get to. But yeah, that Michigan State loss that year. After that, I was like, well, throwing the towel on the team. Here we go again. How are they beating Ohio State if they can't beat Michigan State? And then I double down on that too, and Michigan State goes out and plays Ohio State, and Ohio State beats them 49-0. How can you expect this team to do it? What more do they need to do? They just can't do it. But they do. And it is one of the most cathartic moments. Because up until this point as well, I haven't really made a specific mention of the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. The time I came into it, it's like up until 2021, Michigan had won 3 times in the 2000s in like the 20 years or so, and 2 of those were in the first 4. It's like if you go like 2004 to 2020, which is like 17 years, I think, because you count 04 as year 1, and then it's 16 from that. 1 win in that time, in 17 years. For what I was told was supposed to be the greatest rivalry in all of sports. 1 win. 17 years, 1 win. This is the greatest rivalry. And that just made not being able to get past them up until that point all the worse. Because it's like, I took to calling it the most overrated rivalry. Because it was like, well, we can't hold up our end of the deal. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to say? We can't talk any shit. We've won once in... But yeah, they win that game. And it's the most magical thing. And they win the Big Ten for good measure. And then the run comes to an end against Georgia, but I wasn't upset about that. That's kinda... I guess after that, that's kinda what I expected their best seasons would be. Where it's like, if they can't, they can somehow get past Ohio State, then one of those teams, the top level of college football, like the Bamas, the Georgias, the Clemsons at that time still, even though they've kind of taken a step back the past couple years, of the world, would just completely outclass them in the playoffs. Maybe they could win a game in the playoffs, get to the championship, but they wouldn't get any farther than that. And I felt okay with that. But the TCU game hurt. That one was a game we should have won, and we pissed away. There's no 2 ways around that. Beating Ohio State was fun, though. Because that game last year, everyone called it a fluke. It was because it was snowing, the weather was bad. It was because their guys had the flu. We go into their house. Weather's not a problem. And we beat them even worse. 42-27 the last year, 45-23 this year. Should have been 52-23, but let's not talk about that. Although I do want to say, after this between that, the 2016 thing, and just kind of other times where it's like calls always seem to go Ohio State's way when they're playing at home. It is gold to hear Ohio State fans try and say that the refs handed Michigan this championship. Like, do y'all even know the half of it? I'm taking a sip of some water. Hold on. But but yeah, that one hurt. And then the Connor Stallion shit. Let's talk about the Connor Stallion shit. Okay? And this is the other thing I said I was gonna get to. Because the second half of this season, with all that going on, probably like the least amount of fun I've had being a fan. Because like I couldn't even enjoy the games, I felt like, because of all of that. Like the first half of the season was kind of boring. Like it was just us taking care of business against teams we should have handled. But after all that, hell yeah, I'd take boring. You know? Like sometimes boring is nice. Especially after you go through that. But yeah, that all started like the week of the Michigan State game. And at that point, there wasn't too much info out on it, so, like, obviously, as a fan of my team, I want it to, like, not be true. I want it to be, like, blown out of proportion, whatever. But already then, you had people, like, kind of, like, the reporting on all of this through it was, like, one of the biggest things I had a problem with. Because even after it became clear that, like, they did something wrong, like, like I took, like I said, at first I didn't really want to, but then once like they named the guy, they said this is who it's focused on. This is what he did. I I just kind of was like, well, fuck. All right, well, let's go through a due process and get a fitting punishment, and we'll just have to take that. But like the way it was reported, like it felt like people were trying to do a hit job. Like I'm just being honest. And and then the suspension of Harbaugh too. I didn't agree, but I was fine with the punishment itself for that, the 3 game suspension. My problem was with how it happened. Like I didn't like the Big Ten going out in front of the NCAA in their investigation to do it. And they announced this while the team was on the plane, too, flying out to Penn State for what was their biggest game of the year up to that point. Like, the team. This is a moment where, like, I don't really want to do, like, Basecamp stuff with streaming, I'm gonna be honest. Also, I'm dropping frames now, so that is fun. Are we good now? I think we're good. Alright, yeah, we're good. We're not dropping frames anymore. Just kind of spiked there for a second. But yeah, like, Harbaugh gets suspended while the team's on the flight to Penn State. And I was gonna say too, before I got interrupted, that like I don't really want to do face cam stuff with streaming. Like that's kind of why I want to do the whole VTuber thing, because like I feel like I'd be more comfortable with a model as opposed to a face cam. if I had to pick one or the other. But this would be a good moment to have a face cam to do a bit of like visual comedy to add to this. Because like Michigan, they're on the plane, they're gonna get there early, they're gonna be loud, especially on third down, and then they get there and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you don't have your coach, so Lamau, good luck. Like that was a punk move from the Big Ten. I felt like suspending him in the manner they did, the timing of when they announced it, and the going ahead of the investigation to do it, and like the not following due process there, where it kind of seemed like more just a reaction to backlash from the whole thing caused by the shoddy reporting on it. I didn't like that, but let's go back in time for a bit because I need to stress just how unfun this all was. Like, like this all first broke like during Michigan State week, and with that being a rivalry game and as kind of that fueling the rivalry banter, like I wanted blood in that game for what was going on. And this was at the point where there still weren't too many details, so I was like, obviously, I don't want to believe that's true about my team, you know? Like, I don't want to believe there's something going on that we're in trouble for. Also, I just saw 42-27 on the uptime for the stream here. Hey, that's a reference. 2021, Michigan, Ohio State, good times. Wonder if I can catch 45-23 too. I already missed 30-24, but it's fine. I'll live. But yeah, going into Michigan State, that game, I want blood. And I get it. It is, we kick their asses about as hard as we can without it getting on Sportsmanlike. And to be honest, I kind of would have wanted it to get on Sportsmanlike. Like, leave the starters in the whole game. Have J.J. McCarthy throw 50 times for like 600 yards, 7 touchdowns. Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, get Corum to like 30 carries, 250 yards, 4 touchdowns. Donovan like 20 for 200, 3 touchdowns. Like just run up the score, leave the starters in, go for 2 at the end of the game, you know. But I was happy with uh with the result of that. I They didn't have to get on Sportsmanlike to kick their asses, and I was content. I was happy with that game. That lasted about all of 2 days, maybe. Then a news story dropped about that on Monday, and it was back more info, and it was back to being miserable. And the entire second half of the season, it was like that. Like you couldn't focus on the games, you couldn't enjoy the games. It was just all this nonstop, all the time, and like you have problems with the way it's being handled, where it's just trying to be like as inflammatory as possible. And and yeah, like the Purdue game, we beat them like 41-13, I want to say was the final score. And I was pissed we didn't beat them by more. I should have been happy that like we got a convincing win and all that. No, because their head coach said some stuff about us, and so I wanted to kill them too, and we didn't kill them as much as I would have liked. So I was pissed off about that. I wanted to beat them by 70, not like 41-13 was that 28. I wanted to to put a fucking 60 burger on them. I wanted to be like that 2022 Natty 65-7. And God, like Ohio State being at the end of it too. At the end of all that, I was fucking miserable. Going into that game, because it was like I said before, one win in that game in 17 years. And then we finally have that moment of catharsis where we finally do it again. And then we get the vindication the next year of all that. But with all this going on, you just knew. You just knew that if Michigan lost that game, Ohio State, those fans, they would be right there to take those last 2 years away from us. They'd look at all those, like, how great it was to finally be able to do that. Like I said, between each of those 2 years. And they were gonna look at us, and they were gonna say, hand those over. You don't get to enjoy those anymore. And we are right back to one real win in however long, because we cheated to get those other two. And also, Connor Stalions is gone from the program by this point, by the way, so the guy that was doing it wasn't there anymore, but that still doesn't stop him from saying we cheated now, but what does that matter? They should have beat us. Georgia would have beat this team. Georgia should have beat Bama to get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah. 2021, that win against Ohio State. That was catharsis, like I said. That was one of the most necessary moments, finally being able to do that. 2023, this year, 2023, might have been just as much, if not more, when they actually managed to do that. Because those last 2 years where they came out of that hole from those dark times of ranging from bad to not good enough by a hair, where it's like frustrating, why can't you get over the top when you're this close? What more do you need to do? We got out of that, and it would have all been taken away. And the fact that we were able to beat them and not let them take that from us, at that point it finally felt like I could breathe for the first time since all that started. And but yeah, I didn't expect this. Like I said, I'm winning the whole damn thing. Like, I felt like at some point they were gonna have to beat Ohio State again when all that was going on, like all throughout those rough years. Like at some point it was gonna go their way again, because that's how these things go. But that, I mean, even then, that felt impossibly far off. Like it was either gonna be like a complete like fluke occurrence, or like this team isn't good anyways. They're like 6-5 and what or whatever, and then they win that, and they like get a fluke win, fluke upset, or it was gonna be something that knocks Ohio State down, as opposed to Michigan being able to get up to their level, because that just didn't feel like something that could happen. So it felt impossibly far off. I like to the point where I couldn't get my hopes up about this team until that day came where I got that broken about it. But at some point it was going to go back their way. I never thought that they were going to get back to this. And after the game, I didn't know. I like wasn't like I was happy they won, obviously, but like I wasn't like just overjoyed, over the moon in terms of like excitement, whatever. I really like did not know how to feel. Like I couldn't really process it. I'm still trying to process it. But I've thought about it a bit. And them being able to do this, like I said before, they I thought they could maybe get to the championship game, but at the end of the day, they were gonna be outclassed by one of those teams that has a has an all-time great coach and a roster loaded with future NFL guys. I didn't think Michigan would be that team that has all that. But but yeah. I'm still trying to process it that they actually did this. But I think what it feels like to me more than anything else is the end of a journey. And that could be the end of Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Like he could go to the NFL after this year. It could be the end of this little run they've had the past 3 years. The NCAA could drop the hammer on them for all this Connor Stallion stuff, which I think would be dumb if they try to go scorched earth for that. But they've done more for less, so you can't put it past them, right? I don't know what's gonna happen with all that. And to be honest, I don't care right now. I don't want to think about any of that right now. I just want to enjoy this for as long as I can. But yeah, this really feels so maybe it's the end of a journey in like that last dance kind of sense of like this is it. But it's also the end of a journey for this whole time in the history of the program, the dark age compared to their history overall. The time that I and many other Michigan fans grew up in and didn't know anything else other than just all the bad teams, all the good but not good enough teams, all the even though we've definitely like aren't the most tortured out there, you can't tell us that we haven't been through it. But like all of the bad times from that, all of the pain and suffering we went through during that time. It's all over. That journey through the abyss is over. And this team, they, they made it back to the mountaintop. And maybe it gets taken away from them. I don't think it should, but maybe it does. But you can't take away the moment. We made it. His team made it. I I didn't think they would make it here. Like I said, the whole one half of a title since the Korean War, like almost World War II. 1948 was the last time they won an outright title. Like, they did it. They did it, and I don't know what else to say. But the era of Michigan I grew up with is over, and I couldn't be happier about that. I'm starting to tear up a little bit in case you can't hear it in my voice, but I suppose you could say it was over back in 2021 when they finally beat Ohio State, or maybe 2022 when they validated that. But now there's no debate about it. They really are back at the top. And at least for this moment right now, no one can take that away from them. But yeah, so about now about my streaming. Cuz yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about all that in response to what they were able to do. Like, it had been a while since I streamed, and I don't usually I'm like, this is pretty different from what I normally do. Like, normally I just kind of vibe in Minecraft. Like, that's kind of been what I've done for the better part of like the past year. Like 9 months, I want to say. Probably coming up on 10 now. Because it was Minecraft and Destiny. And then I put down Destiny in like March. But yeah, I wanted to go live and just kind of talk about all that. It's just, yeah, not doing anything else, just kind of talking. But but yeah, as far as streaming goes, I'm gonna be honest, I might be kind of taking a little time to try and I might be taking a little bit of a step back from it, which I already wasn't doing too much before, I know, but like I was kind of thinking about this recently too, and like I wanted I want to stream. I want to like do stuff with this, but I'm not really sure what I want to do. And like I've been putting pressure on myself with the whole like VTuber thing and like trying to figure out stuff with taking steps towards that. But he's probably not going to be straight into like a model, by the way. Like I'm probably going to do like a PNG for a bit first. But yeah, like I've been putting pressure on myself to figure stuff out with that. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of been affecting it too, because it's like when I do have an idea, it's like, I kind of want to hold off on that though until I have this. So yeah, I feel like I probably need to take a little bit to just like kind of not worry about doing stuff for a bit and try and see what I can get done with that. Try and think of things I can do and all that. Like I still may like I don't know if I'm gonna be completely gone. Like I still may do some stuff if I feel like it, but it's probably not gonna be all that much for a bit here anyways. Cause yeah, cause of everything I said. But yeah, this right here, what I did now was something I wanted to do. Just kind of talk about all this, even if like no one's gonna watch it. I just wanted to tech voice it, put it out there. So maybe there'll be other things that's like, hey, this is something I want to do. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But yeah, I do kind of feel like it would be better for me to just like try and really like get all this together and yeah, as opposed to what I've been doing, which is like kind of like worrying about that, but not really making progress with it, but still feeling like I have to do stuff in the meantime, and then kind of getting myself stuck there with, well, what do I do in the meantime? I feel like it'd just be better to kind of take this one thing at a time. So yeah, I'm not saying I'll be completely gone, but I'm saying it might not be too much here for a bit. And we'll see how long that bit is, because I tend to be pretty lazy, so we'll see how long it takes me to get stuff done with all this. But but yeah, I just like I said, I wanted to talk about all that, and I figured it would be an excuse to kind of give you guys an update on where I'm at with like the channel and all that. I uh I don't know if I have all that much else. I was able to talk about that for like an hour, getting all that off my chest. But yeah, I I don't know, but yeah, there's no one I know on right now. I didn't think I was gonna like raid someone anyways. Like I figured I'd kind of do this and then hop off at the end whenever I was done. I didn't think I wasn't expecting I'd throw a raid to someone, but there's no one I know even on right now anyways, so yeah. I'm just gonna get out of here. My voice is cracking. I've been talking too much. But good timing, I guess, with me choosing to end now. Then, huh? but but yeah, I don't know when I'll see you guys. Hopefully, it's not too long because like I still want to be like doing stuff. I just kind of feel like the way I've been going about it hasn't really been working, and I need to change my approach at that. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. And and I don't want to fully commit to like being like taking a break for like a set amount of time, like taking like a month or 2 months or whatever off, but I just I feel like it'd be better if I put more focus into other stuff as opposed to like trying to stick around here when I'm not like making progress with like the VTuber stuff I want to work towards. And like I said before, the whole feeling of, well, what do I do in the meantime then as I continue to struggle with this? But yeah, I'm out of here. Opal, whenever I see you guys again, I'll see you then, I guess. Hope it's soon. But but yeah, I'm out of here. I my team fucking did it, man. I'm still having a hard time believing it. Yeah, I'll see you guys later though. Bye bye.